Truman Days is taking place here at the former president's birthplace in Lamar. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with the role that events like this play in keeping history alive.
Plus, KOAM's Chris Warner heads to Carthage to check out the Jasper County Sheriff's Office annual Community Safety Day. And folks in Newton County came out to the fairground to bid on consignment auction items and raise money to upgrade and repair fairground facilities. Meteorologist Nick Kelly has your weather. Danny Terzer is on sports. I'm Mike Mahoney, and this is your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks as always for joining us this evening. Grand River Dam Authority police are asking for the public's help identifying a body recovered from Tar Creek in Miami today. Officials with the Grand River Dam Authority police say a person contacted them regarding a body in Tar Creek just north of the Neosho River in Miami. Officials with the GRDA police also say the body was recovered and taken by the medical examiner. The victim is described as a male with reddish brown hair, facial hair, a thin build around 5'8" to 5'10" tall with no tattoos. Anyone with any information is asked to contact the GRDA police. The investigation is ongoing. The town of Lamar held their annual Truman Days celebration today. That's celebrating the former president's birthday. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with people at the event to see what inspires them to participate.
The town of Lamar was transported back to the 1800s on Saturday. Lamar's Chamber of Commerce and the Harry S. Truman Birthplace Historic Site teamed up to celebrate the former president's birthday.
We tell the story that, this is what it was like to live in those times. We also have your living historians here.
And for younger people in attendance, it teaches them what life back then was really like.
What was it like as a child whenever the late 40s, early 50s when Harry was president? What kind of games did they have? What kind of music did they listen to? What kind of, things did they wear? So, I think it's definitely important to, just educate others on that and, just celebrate that Harry was born here.
A local Lamar father, Andy Van Gilder, brought his daughter Riley to learn more about their town's history.
Well, that's a pretty cool heritage. Harry Truman was from Missouri, and not just Missouri, from Lamar. And it's good to teach the kids that nowadays, and we just want to come up here and enjoy that.
Yes, that Truman was born in Lamar. It's just cool.
One event participant put on an old-time medicine show from the 1800s, performing folk songs and adding magic to their shows, which he says is part of American tradition.
Because history's important. We can't know our future if we don't know our past. People that don't realize that there was a time when there were no cars, no telephones, no internet, no Wii. No Wi-Fi, and it was a much simpler time.
Events like this reacquaint people with this time. In Lamar, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
I don't want to live in a world with no Nintendo Wii. Hey, let's talk about weather though. It looks like it was really nice up there in Lamar. Meteorologist Nick Kelly, what about the rest of the 4-state area?
Well, everybody had a pretty good day overall, Mike. Nice to see temperatures warm up after we had some scattered storms this morning. 83 for a high in Joplin after a chilly start at 58, so we improved the temperatures in quite a hurry today. We've stayed quiet for much of the evening, but my focus now is on the thunderstorms working across north central, northeastern Kansas, and even southeastern Nebraska. That's part of our next storm system that wants to try and bring these storms our way for some of you overnight. You can see how on the future track here at midnight, our first look at these thunderstorms want to stay mainly to our north, and that's where much of the severe threat's going to stay. But as we go through the overnight, these storms will slowly sink to the south, so we could see some strong thunderstorms in here overnight before we hit sunrise. Not too much in the way of a severe threat, but we'll break down what these storms will do and look at the rest of the forecast coming up here in a bit, Mike.
My dog Peanut hates thunderstorms, so fingers crossed, buddy. All right, the Jasper County Sheriff's Office hosted their annual Community Safety Day today after they had to cancel last year due to the pandemic. KOAM's Chris Warner explains what made this year extra special.
The Jasper County Sheriff's Office got the community together after spending a long time apart.
Well, it's great to be back. We enjoy putting this on for the community. We were saddened, actually, that we couldn't do this last year, so we're super excited to be back this year.
Sheriff Randy Kaiser knows it's been a tumultuous year for law enforcement, making this year's Community Day more important.
I think it's always important for the law enforcement agencies to have a good working relationship with the communities. One of the ways that we can do that is to spend time with them, to build relationships.
And according to the kids in attendance, superintendents, they did a good job building those relationships.
It's kind of nice. I really do like it. It's very fun. I like the bounce house. I did check out the big SWAT van. That thing is humongous. It was humongous.
Hoyt Boyd's brother, Wyatt, found the sheriff's car interesting.
It was fun. I like how they cage it off and stuff so they can't get out.
For Hoyt, Saturday's Community Day left a lasting impression.
And I think I might want to actually change my future job into being a cop. I know it might be a little dangerous, but hey, it's all about protecting your city or your country or your state.
Gabe Mercer has a special connection with the department. Even though he's only 12, he's a wanted man playing a suspect in the SWAT team demo.
Basically just sit in the car, and they do is they throw a flashbang and drop out of the car, and they they would a bad guy, and they take hands behind your back and handcuff you.
Well, they're very fun. I do like it here. They are very nice, and I do respect that. 10 out of 10 respect.
In Carthage, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Four-staters and folks in Newton County, Missouri came out to support the Newton County Fairgrounds by bidding on items at a consignment auction today. The event was held by the Friends of the Newton County Fair Board Group and run by professional auctioneer Bob Laswell and Venture Group Auctions, who donated all auction commissions. That money will go towards fairground improvements and upgrades, and auction organizers say they are happy to be part of an effort to spruce a place that's so important to the Newton County community.
It feels really great. My favorite part is seeing all the children running around and helping out, and you can tell that their parents are raising them in a way that, we work hard and we give back, and they're here giving their Saturday, helping as well, and I know that this eventually is all for them anyway as the next generation coming up, and it's just really cool.
The auction featured everything from firearms to farm machinery and even a pretty cool motorcycle. There it is. Congrats whoever snagged that bike. It is now time to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Tonight, we recognize Daniel Ward of Joplin, Missouri. Ward served as a major in the U.S. Army, and he fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Thank you, sir, for your service, your courage, and for fighting for freedom. For more information on all our four-state heroes, or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMNewsNow.com.
After we had to deal with some thunderstorms this morning, for some of you at least, everybody got to enjoy at least a nice looking afternoon. Time-lapse from Indigo Sky looked pretty good from Seneca, Missouri, at least the outskirts of the city. You were able to dodge the thunderstorms, the areas around Indigo, because during the overnight, as we anticipated, it mainly affected our northeastern counties as we had our first warm front lift on through during the early parts of the day. That morning round of storms left behind a good amount of rainfall for some of you. On the average, about 0.2 of an inch, but you can easily see some spots where we picked up about an inch, maybe an inch and a half in some spots. And thankfully for much of this evening, we've been able to keep things pretty quiet with partly cloudy skies, maybe a couple stray showers to start the evening out. But for now, that's the key phrase. For now, not seeing anything on the radar right now. So as we take you outside to Joplin, yeah, cloud cover around, sure, but we're keeping things pretty quiet. 76, so still a bit warm outside, but that south wind at 15 and the humidity starting to climb back up at 58%. Much of us are sitting in the lower to mid 70s across much of the region, but you can still find a few upper 70s, believe it or not, at 9 o'clock. At this Saturday night in our far western counties. So even though we don't have anything going on as we start to begin the late night hours, my attention is firmly on these thunderstorms across north central, northeastern Kansas, and additional ones coming out of southeastern Nebraska. All of those are riding along a warm front with a little more development expected as that next cold front out in western Kansas rolls on through. That system at the surface in this upper level low in Montana helping to aid in those thunderstorm chances. So what does that mean for us? How are these going to play out? So here's what we're thinking as we go through your future track here. 10 o'clock. We should be okay still, dry in our area, but here's 1 a.m. The leading edge of the thunderstorms wants to start sneaking in toward the south and east, clipping our northern counties first. And at this point, they certainly could be strong, but still keeping the severe threat on the low side. In fact, I think the better shot for any severe weather during the overnight stays around Kansas City and works in the central parts of Missouri. But we'll still keep an eye on these thunderstorms until they can clear out of here before sunrise. And with that said, the thunderstorm risk pretty much in line with what we're thinking. Really a low severe threat in our far northern counties, mainly along and north of 54. From about midnight until 4 a.m. Main threats here will be wind and hail, along with some heavy rainfall. Even though there's just the slimmest chance for a random tornado, we're keeping that threat pretty minimal until we back things down to some scattered showers and a couple storms by sunrise to start your Mother's Day out. But even though we dry out for Mother's Day afternoon, temperatures, they do not look that conducive for any outdoor plans. So it's kind of a mixed bag tomorrow. We're dry during the afternoon for your Mother's Day, but temperatures not quite ideal. 63 in the morning, 55 by noon, and trying to bounce back into the upper 50s by, let's say tomorrow afternoon. But the cloud cover stays in place for tomorrow night, and as lows drop back into the 40s, that upper low in Montana still wants to keep rain chances in the forecast Monday through Wednesday. That will keep highs mainly in the lower 60s through the middle of next week. Fortunately, we're drying out Thursday and Friday, 67 Thursday, 74 on Friday. Then we'll watch for storms again next Saturday. Mike?
Well, thanks as always, Nick. Right after the break, you'll learn about a cyber attack that shut down one of the largest fuel pipelines in the country. And that pipeline typically delivers almost half the fuel that's used on the East Coast. We are back in just 2 short minutes. A cyber attack forces the shutdown of one of the largest fuel pipelines in the United States. That pipeline normally delivers almost half the fuel that's used on the East Coast. Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson has the story.
The cyber attack shut down one of the largest pipelines in the United States. A Missouri lawmaker on the Homeland Security Committee indicated the cyber attack came from overseas. The FBI is investigating.
I think you're going to find, I hope, Republicans and Democrats alike outraged at the audacity of a foreign actor trying to disrupt our economy.
Colonial Pipeline ships gasoline and jet fuel over 5,000 miles, is responsible for roughly half the fuel on the East Coast. In a statement, the company said, "We proactively took certain systems offline to contain the threat, which has temporarily halted all pipeline operations and affected some of our IT systems." Upon learning of the issue, a leading third-party cybersecurity firm was engaged, and they have already launched an investigation. There are reports this was a ransomware attack using encrypted files on a device to shut it down. Malicious actors then demand a payment to turn it back on. The attack comes 2 months after the SolarWinds hack blamed on Russia and the Microsoft hack blamed on China. Senator Ben Sasse, who sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee, released the following statement. "This is a play that will be run again, and we're not adequately prepared. If Congress is serious about an infrastructure package, at front and center should be the hardening of these critical sectors rather than progressive wish lists masquerading as infrastructure." Senator Marsha Blackburn laid the blame on 2 of America's top adversaries.
Russia and China are beginning to function in what I would call that gray zone.
Analysts say this halt in operations is not expected to have a significant impact on fuel markets unless the pipeline remains shut down for several more days. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
When we return, additional criminal charges are brought against the 4 former police officers involved in George Floyd's death.
George Floyd's family and lawyers are speaking up after 4 former Minneapolis police officers were indicted. In New York, I'm Alex Hogan. Their reaction coming up.
George Floyd's family and lawyers are speaking out after additional criminal charges were brought against the 4 former police officers involved in Floyd's death. This comes nearly a year after Floyd's death was caught on camera, sparking nationwide and global outrage against racial injustice and police brutality. Fox News' Alex Hogan has the latest.
George Floyd's family and their lawyers are praising the indictment of 4 former Minneapolis police officers on federal civil rights charges in connection to his death. One of Floyd's brothers says Attorney General Merrick Garland called the family personally to deliver the news.
It put a smile on our faces. I know, just hearing how touched and moved he was, that he's going to give this his all, 100%. He's going to hold these guys to their accountability.
The Department of Justice announced the federal indictment on Friday, alleging Derek Chauvin and the 3 other former officers previously charged in Floyd's death in the state of Minnesota violated his constitutional right, including his right to medical attention.
You knew watching that video that they had violated George Floyd's constitutional right to life when they prevented him from taking a breath for 9 minutes and 29 seconds while those officers kept their knee on his neck and on his back.
Chauvin, who was convicted last month on state charges of murder and manslaughter for Floyd's death, was also charged in a separate indictment related to an arrest back in 2017. He's accused of striking a 14-year-old with a flashlight multiple times and holding his knee on the boy's neck as he was lying flat, handcuffed and not resisting. Chauvin faces up to 40 years for his convictions in Floyd's death and is currently awaiting sentencing behind bars. The 3 other former officers charged in Floyd's death are expected to go on trial together this summer. They have all pleaded not guilty. In New York, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
When we return, the state of Florida could have a cruise line problem. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has banned vaccine passports in the Sunshine State, and one cruise line is already considering avoiding Florida. Details are next. With cruise lines looking to set sail again this summer, many are considering requiring customers to show proof of vaccination. But those vaccine passports are something that Florida's governor recently banned, and that's causing at least one cruise line to consider leaving the Sunshine State. Fox News' Brianna Arredondo has details.
All signs point to the CDC allowing cruises to start up again in the U.S. this July, but that may not include Florida for some cruise lines. Thursday, the Norwegian Cruise Line CEO said they may leave the state if they can't require vaccination proof to sail.
The thing that I believe the cruise lines want to avoid at all costs is the repeat of even a small amount of contagion on the ships.
USF Health's Dr. Jay Wolfson is a public health professor and a lawyer. Speaking with us remotely, he says cruise companies can't afford to lose any more money, and they may see Florida's ban as a risk they cannot take.
If a private corporation wants to have requirements, and if people don't want to meet those requirements, they don't have to use the product.
Norwegian plans to require vaccines for passengers and crew. Earlier this week, Governor Ron DeSantis said cruises should happen in Florida without needing the vaccine.
But if you look at what's going on in Europe and in Asia and other parts, these cruise lines are sailing.
Health lawyers say there's a chance this situation could end up in court.
And then there's the question of whether or not the CDC rules, guidelines, will trump the Florida laws. That's determined in court. That's called preemption. It's happened throughout history. We'll see who wins, the feds or the state.
Cruising is a chunk of Florida's tourism economy. Plus, Norwegian sails out of Port Tampa Bay. A statement to Fox 13 says Port Tampa Bay is committed to working with all parties to bring about the safe return to cruising. This includes our cruise line partners, state leaders, and federal agencies like the Centers for Disease Control. We will continue to work to find solutions that satisfy everyone.
Many businesses across the country are practically begging for prospective employees to apply, and the Sesame Place theme park outside of Philadelphia is no exception. To get folks to sign up, they are offering some pretty big perks. Fox News' Joanne Pelleggi has the story.
I got here and they just told me to look at the tables and see which one I liked and then go in here and pretty much like apply in the interview.
And you got the job on the spot?
Pretty much, yeah.
His twin brother Aiden already works at Sesame Place. Now Logan will be part of the team. Just like that, hired on the spot for showing up.
There's a lot of competition right now. We're still in that in-between stage where folks are starting to get comfortable coming back to work.
Sesame Place advertised this job fair and prospective employees trickled in. The popular 41-year-old kids theme park needs to hire about 800 employees. And along with perks like free tickets here and at the parent company SeaWorld, the incentives are enticing.
Right now we're hiring up to $15 an hour. You can earn up to $1,000 in a summer bonus. And of course you can refer your friends and family and get $100 per referral.
I brought my brother over because he needed a job and it's good pay here and it's a great work experience for the summer.
If you meet the criteria, pass a background check, well, you could even be Ernie, Bert, or Cookie Monster, a ride operator, or security guard.
Tell me how it went.
It went good. I got the job.
It's a wonderful job for anybody of any age, so it's a great summer job. It's great if you're looking for a first job. This is a wonderful first job. It was one of my first jobs, so I can vouch for that. It's also a wonderful job for retirees.
An engineer in India has come up with a low-cost oxygen solution for his country in the midst of a supply crisis. Praveen Gorakavi turned an old-school experiment into a constant oxygen supply made especially for those with low incomes. Gorakavi created an oxygen generator he calls Vayaputra, meaning son of the wind god. The generator makes oxygen by having metal oxide react with hydrogen peroxide. Gorakavi says the generator has multiple devices for reaction cleaning and overheating prevention. It works for 12 hours and costs only 1/40th of an oxygen concentrator. This potentially life-saving device comes as India deals with a massive coronavirus outbreak. Brazil hit a grim marker in coronavirus cases on Friday. That's because Latin America's largest country registered 15 million cases of COVID-19. Brazil's official death toll is now more than 419,000. The country's immunization campaign has been criticized for a slow rollout, and vaccination supplies are running low as cities give out second doses. Brazilian lawmakers have started an investigation into President Jair Bolsonaro's handling of the COVID-19 crisis. Well, don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Danny Terzer. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And still to come, you'll learn about a wild police pursuit in Florida this week where a suspect stole not one but two police cruisers. That's coming up. Welcome back to your News at 9. There was a wild police pursuit in Florida this week after a suspect stole not one but two police cruisers. Fox News' Andrea Lyons spoke to a law enforcement expert to break down the situation.
The story becoming a lot more clear tonight about that chaotic scene on I-95 on Thursday. According to detectives, they say that the driver behind the wheel, claiming to be a law enforcement officer, as well as saying he had consent to take those cruisers via mental telepathy. Two police cars stolen. One right after another. Are you kidding me? You've seen the video. Now Fox 35 sitting down with James Copenhaver.
Very unusual. I mean, you have the police basically chasing the police.
As the prior SWAT narcotics officer analyzes it play by play.
Because now he has a second car that becomes a weapon, plus are they weapons in the car? Later in the chase, you'll hear that the vehicle that was stolen was a canine officer who's also a SWAT officer. So, you know, guns are a pretty good chance there are extra guns in this vehicle.
He doesn't criticize Cocoa Police, says it's a rare, almost never heard of situation.
These guys were very, very tactful and going in to be safe.
The suspect, 33-year-old Xavier Cummings, at the center of the chase. Experiencing what the former officer calls a mental breakdown. And saying all things considered, everyone involved is lucky it didn't end any worse. What is this? Now it's locked. We're also learning that Cummings did not have a driver's license because he was considered to be and still is a habitual traffic violator. He's in Volusia County Jail tonight facing 3 felonies.
Police in Aventura, Florida say a fight between two groups of people led to 3 people getting shot inside the Aventura Mall this afternoon. They also say the 3 gunshot victims suffered non-life-threatening injuries and were taken to nearby hospitals. Police say they are still looking for the main shooter, although they do currently have several individuals in custody. Shoppers say the incident had them locked inside mall stores. A shooting injures 3 people in New York City's famed Times Square today. NBC New York reports that the victims are a 4-year-old girl, a 24-year-old woman, and a 44-year-old woman. Fortunately, they are all expected to survive. The NYPD says that all 3 victims were unintended targets. The shooting was reportedly caused by a dispute among a group of 4 men, and a manhunt for the gunman is now underway. A Massachusetts school bus driver is arrested after police say students found his loaded gun in the back of the bus. Fox News' Wael Aliyu has that story.
When 12 King Philip Middle School students left school Thursday to get on the bus,
They didn't expect to find this .45 caliber handgun in the back seat.
What if they didn't turn it in? That could be bad.
It was bad, but she's right. It could have been much worse. Police say the gun belonged to the bus driver, 65-year-old David Tripp of Norfolk, who has worked at the Holmes Bus Company for more than 15 years.
I've known the individual for a long time. He's a long-time Norfolk resident, and I'm upset with him that he would do this to the residents in the town of Norfolk.
Police say Tripp was cleaning the bus after dropping off Norfolk Elementary School students, and the gun fell out of his pocket. He didn't know it was back there until he heard the 7th and 8th graders boarding the back of the bus and start talking about it. Police say no student ever touched the gun, and Tripp put it in his pocket and continued his route, never reporting the incident to police or school officials.
Disbelief.
Right.
You know, you just don't think that something like that a bus driver would be that irresponsible. Why does he need a loaded gun with little kids?
Tripp does have a license to carry, which police say will be suspended. Police will also seize any other firearms in his possession.
We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather.
After we had to deal with some thunderstorms this morning, for some of you at least, everybody got to enjoy at least a nice looking afternoon. Time-lapse from Indigo Sky looked pretty good from Seneca, Missouri, at least the outskirts of the city. You were able to dodge the thunderstorms, the areas around Indigo, because during the overnight, as we anticipated, it mainly affected our northeastern counties as we had our first warm front lift on through during the early parts of the day. That morning round of storms left behind a good amount of rainfall for some of you. On the average, about 0.2 of an inch, but you can easily see some spots where we picked up about an inch, maybe an inch and a half in some spots. And thankfully for much of this evening, we've been able to keep things pretty quiet with partly cloudy skies, maybe a couple stray showers to start the evening out. But for now, that's the key phrase. For now, not seeing anything on the radar right now. So as we take you outside to Joplin, yeah, cloud cover around, sure, but we're keeping things pretty quiet. 76, so still a bit warm outside, but that south wind at 15 and the humidity starting to climb back up at 58%. Much of us are sitting in the lower to mid 70s across much of the region, but you can still find a few upper 70s, believe it or not, at 9 o'clock. At this Saturday night in our far western counties. So even though we don't have anything going on as we start to begin the late night hours, my attention is firmly on these thunderstorms across north central, northeastern Kansas and additional ones coming out of southeastern Nebraska. All of those are riding along a warm front with a little more development expected as that next cold front out in western Kansas rolls on through. That system at the surface in this upper level low in Montana helping to aid in those thunderstorm chances. So what does that mean for us? How are these going to play out? So here's what we're thinking as we go through your future track here. 10 o'clock. We should be okay still, dry in our area, but here's 1 a.m. The leading edge of the thunderstorms wants to start sneaking in toward the south and east, clipping our northern counties first. And at this point, they certainly could be strong, but still keeping the severe threat on the low side. In fact, I think the better shot for any severe weather during the overnight stays around Kansas City and works in the central parts of Missouri. But we'll still keep an eye on these thunderstorms until they can clear out of here before sunrise. And with that said, the thunderstorm risk pretty much in line with what we're thinking. Really a low severe threat in our far northern counties, mainly along and north of 54 from about midnight until 4 a.m. Main threats here will be wind and hail along with some heavy rainfall. Even though there's just the slimmest chance for a random tornado, we're keeping that threat pretty minimal until we back things down to some scattered showers and a couple storms by sunrise to start your Mother's Day out. But even though we dry out for Mother's Day afternoon, temperatures, they do not look that conducive for any outdoor plans. So it's kind of a mixed bag tomorrow. We're dry during the afternoon for your Mother's Day, but temperatures not quite ideal. 63 in the morning, 55 by noon, and trying to bounce back into the upper 50s by, let's say tomorrow afternoon. But the cloud cover stays in place for tomorrow night, and as lows drop back into the 40s, that upper low in Montana still wants to keep rain chances in the forecast Monday through Wednesday. That will keep highs mainly in the lower 60s through the middle of next week. Fortunately, we're drying out Thursday and Friday, 67 Thursday, 74 on Friday. Then we'll watch for storms again next Saturday. Mike?
Well, Well, thanks again, Nick, and stay tuned, sports fans. We'll be right back with Danny Terzer and your KOAM News at 9 Sports Report.
Pittsburgh State hosts the MIAA Outdoor Championships this weekend. The Pitt State and Missouri Southern men and women's teams are all ranked in the top 25. The PSU men, though, won this year's indoor championships and are aiming to go 2 for 2 this spring season. Today is the first day of events in the men's hammer throw. Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State athletes lock up the top 4 throws of the day. Missouri Southern's Josh Fulmer places 4th. One spot above him is PSU's Connor Swenson. Travis Peterson gets the 2nd place finish for the Lions, but on top is Levi Wyrick. Wyrick wins the event with this throw here. He knew it too. 221.6 feet, that's a personal record, school record, and breaks the MIAA conference record.
About turn 3, I knew I was in the right spot to do the right thing. And then when I let go of the ball, I knew it was big. And when you can watch them fly, you know they're going far. And so that's when I knew I'd found a good one. It was just such an amazing atmosphere, and I can't be more thankful for everything they've done for me. And I'm just so happy today.
Pittsburgh State Baseball's 7-game winning streak was snapped on Friday. The Gorillas dropped 2 games to Emporia State. Today is the last remaining game of the regular season. PSU looks to close out the series and the regular season on a high note. In the 6th, Aaron Jurtis over the back wall, 2-run home run. PSU still going. Blaine Ohlmeyer sends it out to right. Another 2-run jack. Gorillas with a 5-run rally in the 6th to take their first lead of the game. Hornets now Cooper Minnick. That's a solo homer, and it's back to a tie. Then Caleb Carr deep to center. That one is gone. Another lead change, Gorillas on top. PSU gets the job done, winning 9-7. Missouri Southern also closes out the regular season today against Rogers State. The Lions rack up 5 runs in the 8th to win 10-4. Troy Gagnon and Clay Milas with 3 RBI each for Missouri Southern. The Lions finish with a 29-11 record and secure the number 3 seed in the MIAA championship. At the junior college level, postseason play is underway. Crowder is hosting the Region 16 Sub-Regional Series against Three Rivers. The Rough Riders won Game 1 on Friday, 11-3. Back at it today to close out the series, the Rough Riders cruise by the Raiders 21-2. Crowder wins the best-of-3 series to move on to the Region 16 tournament. They will face Metropolitan in round 1 this coming Thursday. Pittsburgh State's head coach Ashley Balazs resigns from her position. Balazs has led the program for the last 4 seasons. PSU softball had 74 wins and 106 losses during Balazs' time as head coach. This past 2021 season, the Gorillas finished 15-29, narrowly missing the postseason after getting swept by Northwest in the final series of the regular season. We'll be right back with more news.
Welcome back to your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. President Biden and his administration respond to this week's disappointing jobs report. That report showed that employers added 266,000 jobs last month, which was below expectations. Fox News' Mark Meredith has that story.
The White House says it's not panicked over this latest jobs report, but President Biden is doubling down on his calls to spend trillions of dollars to help get the country out of the pandemic quickly. The Labor Department reports the unemployment rate ticked up slightly compared to March. One bright spot in leisure and hospitality, where employers added 331,000 jobs. Jobs in restaurants and bars made up half of those gains. The Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, she says while hiring was slow in some sectors, it's really not all doom and gloom.
Indeed, we've made remarkable progress. After all, 1 year ago, we learned we'd lost over 20 million jobs in one single month. I believe we will reach full employment next year.
But Republicans and some business owners say the biggest issue is finding workers. Right now, the federal government pays unemployed Americans an extra $300 a week on top of state benefits. That's right now scheduled to last until early September. Some people argue those incentives are keeping people from going back to work. President Biden, though, he disagrees.
Mr. President, do you believe enhanced unemployment benefits had any effect on diminishing a return to work in some categories?
No, nothing measurable.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is among those pushing back, saying the disappointing jobs report makes it clear that paying people not to work is dampening what should be a stronger jobs market. This debate is expected to last into next week. The president expected to hold several meetings with members of Congress, including congressional leaders of both parties, as well as Senate Republicans, as they hash out a deal on a potential infrastructure bill that could spend trillions of dollars. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
We are not done yet here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, you are going to meet a one-of-a-kind wallaby that is warming hearts at a veterans home in Utah. That story and more are next. A Utah veterans home that features some unique emotional support animals adds a new and rare critter, an albino wallaby. Fox News' Lexi Johnson got to meet the special girl.
We got her about 2 months ago.
She's cute, white, and fluffy.
She weighed 2.5 pounds when I brought her home.
She loves to snuggle with the residents at the William Christopherson Veterans Home in Salt Lake.
She is very calm, loves to be loved, will fall asleep in your arms.
And she's an animal not often seen in Utah.
Ava, baby. She is an albino wallaby.
Her name is Ava, and she's not the first wallaby or kangaroo to live at the VA.
They start smiling, and then they slowly come to my door and ask if they can hold her, if they can pet her.
Norlin Snow has worked at the VA for the last 9 years, and she's had a wallaby or a kangaroo the whole time she's been here, saying it helps to lift the spirits of the people living here.
Also gives us spontaneity here, where you just never know what's going to walk down the hall, or if you're going to be in your room and in will peek the wallaby, or Gertie the dog will bring you a ball to throw her a ball, and it gives them just a whole nother dimension of love.
Not only do they have Ava, but a tortoise named Frankie and Gertie the Scotty.
So there's always somebody feeding the tortoise strawberries or bananas or something. So it gives them a reason to be.
At the start of the pandemic, they had to take all of the animals out of the veterans' home because they didn't know or not if the animals could transmit the virus, leaving the residents upset. However, just 2 months ago, they started bringing the animals back, and Ava was a new addition to the family.
Smiles for weeks. Smiles for weeks.
Snow says the residents are thrilled to have Ava, and they look forward to feeding and snuggling her daily. Now, Ava will only stay here about a year until she's bigger, and then she'll be sent to the Outback Kangaroo Ranch in Washington, where she'll live out the rest of her life, and Snow will bring in a new baby animal for the residents.
We end the evening with some sad news. Former President Obama took to social media today to announce the passing of his family dog, Bo. The former president posted on Twitter saying, quote, "Today our family lost a true friend and a loyal companion. For more than a decade, Bo was a constant, gentle presence in our lives, happy to see us on our good days, our bad days, and every day in between." According to former First Lady Michelle Obama, the 12-year-old dog died from cancer. Bo joined the first family in the White House back in April of 2009. Well, thanks so much for spending some of your Saturday with us. We'll see you tomorrow right here for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night, and as always, stay safe out there.